Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for coming on. It's actually great timing to have you because, we want to talk about what you're doing and stuff, but also, like we were just saying during the break, like you probably know all these head coaching candidates, right? You've coached with all these guys.
You have.
I know a lot. Know quite a few of them. That's for sure.
Are any of them like Raheem Morris? Give me some other
maybe
names.
some of the younger guys.
Dan
Vrabel.
Yeah,
all these guys, any of them jump out at you? Like, of these head coaching candidates, alleged, coordinators or whatever, are going to get another opportunity. Who jumps out at you as somebody these teams should really, really be thinking seriously about?
Well, I think all of them have, very something special about them because like Raheem Morris has been a head coach before.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that's very intriguing to me is Antonio Pierce. Our
agree.
days together back at the Commanders when they were the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
He was a linebacker on that team, and just watching his leadership then, and just watching him go through his career as a player and now, being elevated to the head coach of the Raiders, I think is tremendous. But Raheem Morris, Brian Callahan, sounds like he's going to the Texans. And
tell us about Raheem, because we've been debating about him and the fan perception, just so you know. They're very underwhelmed. They go back to what he did in Tampa. My defense of him is, hey, he was a young guy. He was learning.
And fans also are looking for offensive guys.
And fans are looking for offensive guys, yeah. So give us the positives and negatives on Raheem.
Well, I think the positive is the fact that he has been a head coach. Mm-hmm. I don't think you ever become better unless you do it, right? You learn how to do it at a high level unless you just got a stacked team. A lot of these teams don't come to you stacked. You got to find a way to put it together. So I think he understands the landscape of it. The first thing people are going to say, well, he didn't have as much success, as people would have liked. But you just said it a second ago. I think that experience, you're older, you're wiser, you prepare better, you understand the league a little bit more, and maybe you even get in a better situation. The key to all these guys having a chance to have success is can they go get a quarterback? Mm-hmm. And that's where it all starts.
Yep.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I want to go back to your days with the Ravens, and you coached under John Harbaugh, and you coached a young guy named Joe Flacco. How amazing was it that he had this run in the regular season, after not playing the whole season? And then tell us what makes John Harbaugh special, because that guy has had sustained success.
You said it. I was wacko for Flacco, watching what he was doing, coming off the couch and helped leading the Browns to the playoffs. And I think it was an unbelievable story that was developing. Obviously they ran into that buzzsaw in Houston, but at the same time, happy to see him have the success he had. John Harbaugh is just very consistent. He's been one of the best coaches in the league. I think people, when it first started, because he was a special teams coach, well, how did he even get the job? And I tell people all the time, that job is one of leadership and connecting with men and getting men to follow you and understand, when to push, when to pull. And he is phenomenal that way. He's always had a great staff around him. That organization has always had great players. Defense is what they've been known for, but now you go draft Lamar Jackson. You had a Flacco who won a Super Bowl for him. And now you have this player that's going to be probably player of the year again. So they do a great job as an organization, top to bottom. And that's why some organizations win a lot and some organizations don't, because they understand the structure, the vision, the alignment, the collaboration that must go on in order for you to go win.
Hugh, you touched on that Houston squad for just a second. I mean, how amazing is it for a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback to have that sort of success out of the gate, making the playoffs both in their first years, Stroud playing so well, taking care of the ball as a rookie, not turning it over a lot. Like, that doesn't happen a lot when you have a first-year head coach and quarterback in tandem that performs that well.
No, you said it. I mean, I think when they talked about it in the pregame last week, it was only 3 of them. And, again, it went right back to Coach Harbaugh and Joe Flacco, as well. And so when you think about that, there's not a lot, but to watch what D'Amico's done and what C.J. Stroud's done, with a team that didn't play as well the year before. So that means they got it right. They got it right at head coach. They got it right at quarterback. They got it right with their draft. So I think they're well on their way to being a really, really good football team in the future.
Coach, kind of take us behind the scenes if you can, because we were kind of talking about this with all these interviews. And right now, obviously, they've got so many rules. You can do Zoom interviews with the guys who are still coaching in the playoffs, and then you got to wait until they're eliminated. Then you can do the in-person stuff. But back in 2016, when you interviewed for the Browns, I assume that was Jim Haslam, correct? He was the owner?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you had Haslam there. Tell us who was in the room for these interviews, and then what types of questions are they asking you? Are they asking you, hey, what staff do you want? And can you fill out a staff right here in front of me? And are they asking you, all right, what kind of systems are you going to run? Are they asking you about the draft at that point? Can you kind of take us behind the scenes and tell us what that process is like?
Absolutely. No, it is an entourage of people, higher level executives that you're going to interview with. And it's normally the owner, it's the GM, if there's a GM that's in place, it's business, people, and it's somebody that's probably really trusted by the owner to really get a feel so they can have a difference of opinion of all these candidates. And you said it. There's so many things that you work through, but you'll be surprised. It's not really about, just the nuts and bolts of football. It's not about what you knew on offense. It's not about what you knew on defense. It's how are you going to run the day-to-day? And then who are the people, as you mentioned a second ago, that's going to be with you in this process? Do you have a plan for, organized team activities and off-season programs? Do you have a plan for when you're ready to go to training camp? What will that look like? Now, everybody have dates and when you can do it, but what does that really look like? What is the flow of that? And then how are we going to get this team from this point to this point by the draft? Are we going to do it in free agency? Are we going to do it in a draft? What is our dollar situation, our cap, the cash situation that you have to know and understand? And then where will we spend our dollars? What's going to be the most important positions that we have to change and change fast? And what does that look like? Is that going to be through drafting? Is that going to be through free agency? All those things, or trades, all those things you have to be able to be ready to walk through and know that you understand a little bit.
When you were interviewing for that job, were you kind of take us back? Where were you with the Bengals in terms of the season? Were you guys already eliminated or didn't make the playoffs, so you had more time to prep for that? Or did you have to kind of throw it all together because you were still coaching?
You had to kind of throw it all together. We were playing Pittsburgh in Cincinnati, and never forget it, we lost a big game. We thought we should have won. We had a fumble right there at the end, and we had the explosion with a couple of defensive players. And the next day I had two interviews. I interviewed for San Francisco and interviewed for Cleveland, and they were right after each other. And so things were just happening, and they were happening at a rapid pace, and then you had to let go, of what happened the game before, with all, because that was a painful memory.
Right. And
it happened. I think now it's a little bit more comfortable for the coaches because, as you mentioned, you can start a first interview on a Zoom, and have a good conversation, kind of a meet and greet. But to me, when they start to bring you to their facility, that's when things are getting a little bit more serious because they want to see how you fit, in their culture. And that's a strong word that everybody is using now, the culture of their building. How do you rebuild a culture? And people want to know that. And other people get an opinion of you, and everybody wants to know about collaboration and alignment. And the other word that's in the National Football League now is analytics. Mm-hmm. How much will you use analytics to move forward with what you do? Because if there's a way to save money, if there's a way to be better, everybody's looking for an edge. So everything's going to be used. Watch what I tell you. AI is going to show up at some point in time in the National Football League.
Of course. Talking to Hue Jackson, longtime NFL coach, most recently coached at Grambling State. So let's get into the matchups this weekend. You just had a classic, a battle between Mahomes and Josh Allen. Well, now it's Mahomes and the Chiefs. Andy Reid, defending Super Bowl champions, against Lamar Jackson, who's probably going to win his second MVP. How do you see this game playing out?
It's going to be an unbelievable football game. I think from the Kansas City standpoint, on defense, they got to do everything they can to not let Lamar run the football. We say what we want, but they're a dangerous team when he's running up and down the field or when he's making first downs. Those hidden first downs that he makes keep their offense going and gives them a chance then to spread the ball around to these other guys. But I would think that Kansas City is going to have a plan to where they don't try to allow him to run, especially after watching Josh Allen run last week. So if you don't slow this guy down from running, it could be tough. On the other side of it, obviously, Baltimore's defense, which is a really good defense, they got to find a way to slow Mahomes, and nobody's been able to do that. He's playing lights out, and I think he's going to continue to. You're playing two really good quarterbacks, two really good young quarterbacks, two of the best in the National Football League. They're both very competitive. They both want to win against each other. Patrick's been there so many times. He's hard to beat. He just is. And I know it's going to be in Baltimore. I worked in Baltimore. I know Coach Harbaugh have them ready to play, but Coach Reed has done a great job. You don't have the success they had and not be able to understand the moment and be prepared for the moment of this game. So it's going to be a bomb burner, and I'm not going to say who I think is going to win because I'm not going to have somebody get mad at me because I've been in Baltimore and I know Coach Reed because we're vaqueros from Glendale Junior College, so I'm not going to push up that tree and have somebody throw something at me.
You watched the Chiefs-Bills game, correct?
Yes.
You're an offensive guy, so you can kind of explain this. But and Kelsey's been doing this for years. But on that first touchdown, how do the Bills break down that coverage when you know Kelsey's going to be his number one target? And how is he so wide open in the red zone on that first touchdown?
You know what's interesting? I guarantee you there's some data that told them when he's inside, they might not switch to coverage.
Okay.
So there's something they saw, that put him, where he was, that when he started vertical, that I guarantee you they were playing for something that they had seen probably a ton on tape. So you go back to the Super Bowl when they put the guy in motion and willed him back out, and they threw him to the guy who was wide open. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that comes from strategy and planning. So it's something in their strategy that they understand that when we're down here, we're going to show a same face, but do something just a little bit different, and it throws defenses off, and that's what everybody's trying to do at a high level. But they do it as well as anybody in the National.
So that's Reed just out coaching McDermott there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, and it happens. And again, I know we use a strong word. They're out coaching. That's strategy. And I agree with what you're saying, but boy, you guys know he's the first option down here.
Right.
Regardless of what we do, we're not letting him beat us. Everybody says that. Everybody says we're not going to let Lamar beat us, and they find a way to do it. Those great players, they have a way about them that they find ways, coaches find ways to get these guys touches, because if you don't, they don't win. And when they do win, and that's why Kansas City wins.
Talking to Hue Jackson, longtime NFL coach. So on the other side, you've got Goff against Purdy, Lions against the 49ers. Ben Johnson, we're here in D.C., is a name that the fan base is enamored with. What do you see in Ben Johnson's offense that is special? Some of the analytics say that it's the spacing. What do you see?
I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of the spacing. I think it's a combination of the personnel groups that they use. I think it's a combination that he has some tremendous players as well. I mean, he has one of the fastest running backs there is in football. He understands rhythm and timing, and Jared Goff has done a great job with him from a confidence playing standpoint. He's playing lights out. They get the ball out of his hand. They let him make the throws he can make. So I think Ben Johnson's done an outstanding job, and I can see why people are very excited about the possibility of him coming there. He's a number one draft pick at quarterback that he's coaching, a very dynamic offense. They got receivers that play at a high level, and they have a certain style about them that gives them, it looks like they're really gritty and tough, and that comes from the coordinator, being very honest with you, through the head coach. Obviously that's who the head coach is, but it's also pushed by the coordinator. So I think he's a tremendous candidate, but I like what he's doing on offense.
Hey, real quick, before we let you go, getting back to the coaches, you were talking about Raheem and some of these other guys, and can you just kind of give us your thoughts on Vrabel? I guess I read that he's going to have a second interview with the Falcons, but, we're hearing Belichick to the Falcons, so who knows what Blank's thinking down there. I just thought that Vrabel would be plucked very soon based on his resume. Your thoughts on him?
And I think he will be. When it all started, everybody thought he was on his way to the Patriots, but that was already a decision made by the organization, contractually, which everybody understands that. I think he's a tremendous football coach. I think he's going to land on his feet somewhere very, very soon. I'm surprised because Atlanta, they're doing their due diligence, it looks like, on everybody. There's a lot of second interviews that are going around. But Vrabel, if you just look at his record, you see what he did in Tennessee. Obviously, they play really great defense. He's had a lot of different quarterbacks he's been around. And I think that's a good thing. Some people don't. I do. Because when you go to your next job, you know what that guy has to have in order for you to have a chance to win. And you know what type of style and systems you want to play in. So you try to draft. One, you try to acquire the coaches that can implement that. But two, you try to go find a guy that can play the type of style you need to play to win, because he's won a lot of games. You know, at the end of the day, he knows how to do it at a high level. So I think he's going to be somewhere here pretty soon.
Hugh, thanks a lot for the time, man. Really appreciate the insight.
stuff.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, be good.
Yep, that's Hue Jackson, longtime NFL and
He's a really
college
good guest.
head
I like
coach.
him.
Very good.
Really
Interesting that what he said about the interview process. So it's not necessarily just what kind of offense you're going to run, what kind of defense, like in-game strategies. It's all the other outside stuff that owners are kind of looking at too.
Yeah.